My name is Princess Beatriz Cavalcanti, and I need to tell you about the night my family tried to destroy me for showing kindness to someone they considered beneath us. This story is about power, pride, and what happens when compassion collides with tradition. But more than that, it's about discovering that sometimes the people society throws away are the ones who can teach us the most about what really matters. I'm telling you this because someone watching right now is facing a choice between doing what's right and doing what's expected, between following your heart and following the rules, between showing mercy and maintaining your reputation. And I want you to know that choosing compassion is always worth it, even when it costs you everything. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand the world I came from, to understand why what I did was considered so unforgivable. I'm a princess. Not the fairy tale kind with the glass slippers and the singing birds. I'm part of a European royal family that still holds significant power and influence. We have palaces. We have wealth that spans generations. We have a name that commands respect and opens every door. But with all that privilege comes expectation. Rigid, suffocating expectation. From the moment I could walk, I was trained in proper behavior. How to sit, how to speak, how to smile for cameras, who to acknowledge, and, more importantly, who to ignore. The poor, the homeless, the struggling. We were taught to support charities, yes, to write checks and attend galas and pose for photos with carefully selected beneficiaries. But we were never, ever supposed to get personally involved. That was beneath us, undignified, dangerous even. They'll take advantage of you, my mother would say. They'll see your kindness as weakness. They'll bleed you dry and then resent you for not giving more. Keep your distance. Maintain the boundaries. That's how royalty survives. I believed her. For 26 years, I believed her. I smiled at charity events and wrote generous checks and felt good about myself while maintaining a safe, sanitary distance from actual suffering. I was helping, I told myself. I was making a difference. But I wasn't. Not really. I was performing, playing a role, checking boxes that maintained my family's reputation without actually engaging with the reality of human pain. That changed 6 months ago on a Wednesday night in November. I'd been at a gallery opening in the city. Champagne, canapes, boring conversations with boring people about boring art. I left early, around 10 o'clock, and told my driver I'd walk the few blocks back to my private apartment. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to feel like a normal person for just a few minutes. It was raining. Not hard, just a cold, steady drizzle that made the city streets shine under the streetlights. I had my hood up, trying to stay dry, when I saw him. He was sitting in a doorway of a closed shop. Old. Maybe 60, maybe 80. It's hard to tell with people who've lived on the streets. He was soaked through, shivering, holding a piece of cardboard over his head that had long since turned to mush. I should have walked past. That's what I'd been taught. That's what I'd always done. But something stopped me that night. Maybe it was the champagne lowering my inhibitions. Maybe it was frustration with the fake world I'd just left. Maybe it was something else. Something I didn't understand yet. I stopped. Looked at him. Really looked at him. His eyes were kind. That's what struck me first. Despite everything, the cold, the rain, the obvious hunger and pain, his eyes were kind and sad. So incredibly sad. "Excuse me," I said quietly. "Are you okay?" He looked up, surprised anyone was talking to him. "I'm fine, miss. Don't worry about me. You should get out of the rain." His accent was educated, refined. This wasn't someone who'd been homeless their whole life. This was someone who'd fallen, someone who'd lost everything. "When did you last eat?" I asked. He hesitated. Yesterday morning. The shelter had breakfast. Come with me, I said, before I could think better of it. There's a cafe around the corner. Let me buy you dinner. He stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Miss, you don't want to be seen with someone like me. It'll cause you trouble. Then we won't let anyone see. Come on, please. I can't just leave you here. He stood slowly, painfully. He was taller than I expected, and thinner. The kind of thin that speaks of months, maybe years, of inadequate nutrition. We walked to a small cafe I knew stayed open late. I sat him at a corner table away from the windows and ordered him soup, bread, a full meal, hot tea. The owner gave me a look. She clearly recognized me despite my hood. But she served us without comment. I watched him eat. He tried to pace himself, tried to show table manners, but he was clearly starving. I ordered him another bowl of soup, then another. I'd never seen someone so hungry. What's your name? I asked. Marcus. Marcus Filio. How long have you been on the streets, Marcus? He set down his spoon. 3 years. Lost my job first. Software engineer. Company downsized. Then my wife got sick. Cancer. I spent everything we had trying to save her. Sold our house. Cashed out my retirement. It wasn't enough. She died anyway. After that, he shrugged. I just gave up. Stopped trying. Ended up here. I'm so sorry. Don't be. I made my choices. I let grief destroy me instead of working through it. That's on me. He looked at me closely. You look familiar. Have we met before? I don't think so. You're somebody important, aren't you? I can tell by how you carry yourself, how you speak. I hesitated, then decided honesty was better than lies. Yes, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is getting you warm and fed. It matters, he said gently, because people like you don't usually help people like me. Not like this, not personally. You write checks, you pose for photos, but you don't sit in cafes at midnight buying us soup. That's unusual. Maybe it shouldn't be. He smiled. Maybe not, but it is, and I'm grateful. More grateful than you know. We talked for 2 hours. About his life before. About his wife. About his daughter who wouldn't speak to him anymore because she blamed him for her mother's death. About the loss and grief and shame that had brought him to that doorway. And I listened. Really listened. Not with the polite, distracted attention I gave to people at official functions, but with my whole heart. And something inside me cracked open. All the walls I'd built, all the distance I'd maintained, all the careful separation between my privileged world and the real world where people suffered and struggled and sometimes lost everything. It all came crashing down. When the cafe closed at midnight, I didn't want to leave him. Didn't want him to go back to that doorway in the rain. Come with me, I said. I have an apartment nearby. You can sleep on the couch, get dry, get warm. We'll figure out next steps in the morning. Miss, I can't. If anyone finds out, no one will find out. I promise, please. I can't send you back out there. He came. I gave him clean clothes, a hot shower, a warm meal. I made up the couch with blankets and pillows. I watched him fall asleep almost instantly, exhausted, finally safe. And I sat in my room, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'd just done. Wondering why it felt so right and so terrifying at the same time. That should have been the end of it. One night of compassion, one moment of connection, then back to normal life. But I couldn't stop thinking about Marcus, about his story, about all the other people like him, invisible on the city streets. I started going out at night, walking the areas where homeless people gathered, bringing food, blankets, just talking to them, learning their names, hearing their stories. I was careful, always in disguise, hood up, plain clothes, no jewelry. I never told anyone, not my friends, not my staff, certainly not my family. This was mine, my secret rebellion, my private act of defiance against everything I'd been taught about maintaining distance. For 3 months, I lived this double life. Princess by day, anonymous helper by night, and I'd never felt more alive, more purposeful, more connected to something real. Marcus became a friend. I helped him get into a program, got him clean clothes and a phone so he could start looking for work, connected him with resources, watched him slowly come back to life. "You saved me," he told me one night, "not just physically. You gave me hope. You reminded me that I'm still human, still worthy of kindness. You were always worthy, Marcus. You just needed someone to see it." But secrets have a way of coming out, especially when you're a princess and people are always watching. It was my cousin Elena who found out first. She saw me one night, didn't recognize me immediately, but something made her suspicious. She followed me, watched me sit with homeless people, saw me with Marcus, and she told my mother. I'll never forget the phone call. 3 a.m, my mother's voice, cold with fury. "Come to the palace, now. We need to talk." I knew. Before I walked through those doors, I knew my secret was out. I knew there would be consequences, but I didn't know how bad it would be. My entire family was there. Mother, father, my Uncle Roberto, Aunt Christina, Cousin Elena looking smug and satisfied, and others. Extended family, members of the royal household. It felt like a trial, because that's exactly what it was. My mother stood at the head of the table. Her face was stone. "Is it true?" she asked. "Have you been sneaking out at night to consort with homeless people?" "Consort? I've been helping them, feeding them, talking to them." "Answer the question, yes or no." I lifted my chin. "Yes, it's true." The room erupted, shouting, accusations. How dare I? How could I? Did I have any idea what I'd done to the family reputation? My Uncle Roberto slammed his hand on the table. "You brought one of them into your apartment, into a royal residence? Do you understand the security risk? The scandal? What if he'd robbed you, hurt you? What if the press had found out? His name is Marcus. He's a human being. He was cold and hungry and—" "He's homeless," Elena interrupted. "He's probably diseased, probably an addict. And you invited him into your home like he's your equal?" "He is my equal. We're all equal. We just had different circumstances." "Stop." My mother's voice cut through the chaos. "Just stop. I don't want to hear your naive, idealistic nonsense. You are a princess. You have responsibilities, duties. You represent this family. Everything you do reflects on us. And you chose to humiliate us by degrading yourself with street people." "I didn't degrade myself. I helped people who needed help." "You could have written a check. You could have made a donation. You could have done this the proper way, at a safe distance, maintaining dignity and decorum. But instead, you got personally involved. You crossed boundaries that exist for good reasons. You put yourself at risk. You put all of us at risk." "Risk of what? Of actually caring about people? Of treating human beings with dignity?" My father finally spoke. He'd been silent until now, and his voice was heavy with disappointment. "Beatrice, you don't understand the world. You think your kindness makes you noble. But what you've done is dangerous. People will take advantage. They'll see you as a target. They'll use your compassion against you. And worse, other members of society will see what you've done and think we approve, think we're weak, think they can approach us without consequence. God forbid people think we're approachable. God forbid people think we're human. We're not ordinary humans." My mother's voice rose. "We're royalty. We have a position to maintain, standards to uphold, and you violated every single one of them." Aunt Christina leaned forward. There's more you don't know, Beatrice. We've been investigating. Your friend Marcus, he's been telling people about you, about the princess who helps him. Word is spreading among the homeless community. They know your name. They know where you live. You've made yourself a target. My blood ran cold. Marcus wouldn't. He did. Whether intentionally or not, he did. And now we have a situation. We have desperate people who think a princess is their personal charity. We have security concerns. We have reputational damage. All because you couldn't follow simple rules. So what happens now? I asked quietly. My mother exchanged looks with my father, with my uncle. They'd already decided. This wasn't a trial. It was a sentencing. You're being removed from all official duties, my mother said. No more public appearances. No more charity work. No more representing the family. You're confined to the estate until further notice. Your apartment in the city is being closed. Your allowance is suspended. And you're forbidden, absolutely forbidden, from having any contact with homeless individuals or anyone from your activities. You're putting me under house arrest? For showing kindness? We're protecting you from yourself, and we're protecting this family from the consequences of your reckless behavior. This is insane! This is final. My father's voice was absolute. You will comply, or you will be stripped of your title and removed from the family entirely. Those are your options. I looked around the room, at faces I'd known my whole life. Faces of people who were supposed to love me, who were supposed to care about me. And I saw nothing but judgment, nothing but anger, nothing but obsession with reputation and status and maintaining distance from ordinary human suffering. What about Marcus? I asked. What happens to him? My uncle Roberto smiled coldly. He's being dealt with. We've contacted authorities. He's being removed from the city. He won't be bothering you anymore. Bothering me? He's my friend. He didn't do anything wrong. He told people about you. He exploited your kindness. He's exactly the kind of person we warned you about. He's a human being who deserves enough. My mother stood. This conversation is over. You're dismissed. Your security will escort you to the estate. You'll remain there until we decide you've learned your lesson. I left that room feeling like I'd been hollowed out. Like everything I thought I knew about my family, about love, about loyalty, had been revealed as a lie. They didn't care about me. Not really. They cared about the image, the reputation, the carefully maintained illusion of perfection. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. I was isolated at the family estate. No phone. No internet. No contact with the outside world. Guards at every door. I was a prisoner in a palace. I thought about Marcus constantly. Wondered where he was. If he was safe. If he hated me for what my family had done to him. I'd tried to help, and instead, I'd made everything worse. I prayed during those weeks. I'm not particularly religious. I grew up with ceremonial faith. Going to services because it was expected. Saying the right words. Performing the right rituals. But in that isolation, I prayed like I'd never prayed before. God, if you're there, if you're real, please help Marcus. Please keep him safe. And please show me what to do. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make this right. On the 21st day, something changed. There was a knock on my door at midnight. My Aunt Christina entered, looking troubled. Beatrice, you need to come with me. Now. Don't ask questions. Just come. She led me through the palace to a small sitting room I'd rarely been in. And there, waiting, was someone I never expected to see. Marcus. He looked better than when I'd last seen him. Clean. Wearing decent clothes. But his eyes were afraid. Marcus, what are you doing here? How did you... Your aunt brought me. She said you needed to hear something. I turned to Aunt Christina. I don't understand. She sat down heavily. I need to tell you a story, Beatrice. About me. About a long time ago, before you were born. She took a deep breath. When I was 19, I fell in love. He was a musician. Poor. From a difficult background. But kind. Brilliant. Creative. He saw me, not the princess. Just me. And I loved him more than I've ever loved anyone. Aunt Christina. Let me finish. My family found out. They forbid me from seeing him. They called him a gold digger, a social climber, someone trying to take advantage of naive royal girl. They sent him away, threatened him, paid him to disappear from my life. And I let them. I was too young, too scared, too indoctrinated to fight back. So I obeyed. I married someone appropriate. Someone boring and appropriate who I've never loved for one single day. Tears ran down her face. I've spent 40 years regretting that choice. 40 years wondering what my life could have been if I'd been brave enough to choose love over duty. If I'd been strong enough to fight for what mattered. She looked at me directly. When I saw what you were doing, I was furious. Not because you were wrong, but because you were right. Because you had the courage I never had. You chose compassion over comfort, connection over status. You chose to be human instead of royal. And watching you be punished for that, it broke something in me. I don't understand what this has to do with Marcus. Your family lied about him, she said quietly. He never told anyone about you. He never exploited your kindness. The word spreading among the homeless community? That wasn't his fault. People saw you. Put pieces together. But Marcus never betrayed you. Never used your name. He protected your secret as carefully as you did. I looked at Marcus. Is that true? He nodded. I would never hurt you, princess. You saved my life. Why would I repay that with betrayal? But my family said, your family needed a villain. Aunt Christina interrupted. They needed you to see him as dangerous, as someone who confirmed their narrative about why you should never get personally involved. So they lied. They framed him. They painted him as an opportunist to justify their cruelty. I felt sick. Where have you been? What did they do to you? Marcus shrugged. They had police run me out of the city, told me if I came back I'd be arrested. But I found work in another town. Your aunt tracked me down, brought me here tonight. She said you needed to know the truth. I turned to Aunt Christina. Why? Why are you doing this? Why risk helping us? Because I'm tired of regret. Because I'm tired of watching good people be punished for goodness. Because maybe, just maybe, if I help you, I can make up for my own cowardice. She stood. You have a choice to make, Beatrice. You can submit. Accept their rules. Live the life they've planned for you. Safe, comfortable, empty. Or you can fight. Not with anger, not with rebellion, but with continued compassion, with radical, stubborn, relentless love. They'll disown me. They'll take everything. They'll take everything material, your title, your money, your position. But they can't take who you are. They can't take your heart. They can't take your choice to love people more than status. She smiled sadly. Jesus lost everything too, you know. Position, reputation, safety. All because he chose to eat with tax collectors and sinners and people society threw away. The religious leaders called him a friend of sinners like it was an insult. He wore it like a badge of honor. I'm not Jesus. I'm just a person trying to do the right thing. That's all any of us are. But sometimes that's enough. She headed for the door. I can give you both 2 hours. After that, I can't protect you. The guards will find you. But 2 hours. That's enough time to decide what kind of person you want to be. She left, and Marcus and I sat in that small room, looking at each other. You don't have to do anything, Marcus said. You don't owe me anything. If you need to submit to your family to save your position, I understand. What you did for me, those few months, that was enough. That was more than enough. No, I said. It wasn't enough. It was the beginning of understanding what actually matters. I made my decision that night. I wrote a letter to my family, told them I would not submit, would not stop helping people, would not choose comfort over compassion. I told them they could take my title, my money, my position in the family, but they couldn't take my choice to love people the way they deserved to be loved. I left the estate at dawn with Marcus. My Aunt Christina had arranged for a car. She'd also arranged for a small amount of money to be transferred to an account in my name. Her own money, not family money. "It's not much," she said, hugging me goodbye. "But it's enough to start over. Be brave, my dear. Be the person I was too afraid to be. The last 6 months have been the hardest and best of my life. I'm no longer Princess Beatrice in any official sense. I'm just Beatrice. I work at a homeless shelter now. I help coordinate services, connect people with resources. I listen to their stories and remind them they're human. They're worthy. They matter. Marcus works there too. He's the assistant director. He's reconciled with his daughter. He's rebuilding his life. And he tells everyone who'll listen about the princess who saved him. Not with money or status, but with simple human kindness. My family hasn't spoken to me since I left. My mother sends occasional messages through lawyers, offering to restore me to my position if I'll just apologize and submit. I decline every time, because I've learned something crucial. Power and privilege aren't blessings if they separate you from humanity. Wealth and status aren't gifts if they require you to treat people as less than human. And family isn't family if love is conditional on obedience. I miss certain things about my old life. The comfort, the security, the ease. But I don't miss the emptiness. I don't miss the performance. I don't miss looking at suffering people and feeling nothing, because I'd trained myself not to see them as fully human. A few weeks ago, I was working late at the shelter when a woman came in. She was young, maybe 25, well-dressed but crying. She'd been evicted, lost her job, was too ashamed to tell her family. She didn't know where to go. I sat with her, made her tea, listened to her story, helped her connect with resources, and as I was walking her out, she stopped. "Thank you," she said. "Not just for the help, but for treating me like a person, for not making me feel like garbage because I'm struggling." "You're not garbage. You're going through a hard time. That doesn't define you." She looked at me closely. "You look familiar. Have we met?" I smiled. "I don't think so, but that doesn't matter. What matters is you're safe tonight. We'll figure out tomorrow when tomorrow comes." That's the work now. Not grand gestures or big donations or photo opportunities. Just person by person, story by story. Reminding people that they're seen, they're valued, they matter. Is my life harder now? Yes. Do I have less comfort and security? Absolutely. Do I regret my choice? Not for 1 second. Because I've learned what my family never understood. Compassion isn't weakness. Kindness isn't degrading. And getting personally involved with people who are hurting isn't dangerous. It's the only thing that makes us fully human. Jesus said, "Whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me." My family read that verse and decided the way to obey it was by writing checks from a safe distance. I've learned that obeying it means getting your hands dirty, means crossing boundaries, means treating people society throws away as exactly what they are, image bearers of God who deserve dignity and love. I'm telling you this story because someone watching needs to hear it. Maybe you're in a position of privilege and you're seeing suffering, but you're afraid to get involved. Afraid of what people will say. Afraid of how it'll look. Afraid of the cost. I'm here to tell you, get involved anyway. The cost is worth it. The criticism is worth it. The loss of comfort and status is worth it. Because on the other side of that fear is connection, is purpose, is the incredible, world-changing power of one human being choosing to see and love another human being without conditions or boundaries or careful distance. Or maybe you're on the other side. Maybe you're the one who's struggling, who's been made to feel less than, who's been treated like you're invisible or worthless or beyond help. I'm here to tell you, you're not. You're seen. You're valuable. You're worthy of kindness and dignity and love. Not because of what you've achieved or what you can offer, but because you're human. Because you exist. Because you matter. My name is Princess Beatrice Cavalcanti. I was condemned by my family for showing compassion to a homeless man. I lost my title, my position, my place in the only world I'd ever known, and I gained everything that actually matters. I gained purpose. I gained connection. I gained the joy of living a life that's aligned with what's actually important, instead of just what looks impressive. If you take nothing else from this story, take this. Compassion is never wrong. Kindness is never weakness. And sometimes the people society tells you to ignore are exactly the people who can teach you what it means to be truly human. Choose compassion, even when it costs you everything. Especially when it costs you everything. Because that's when you discover what you're really made of. That's when you discover that loving people is worth more than any title or status or carefully maintained reputation could ever be. That's my story. That's my testimony. And I wouldn't change a single thing.